Hello, hello. I am Rich Oseguera, your transformation catalyst, and welcome to the Unmute Yourself show. And if you'd like to see more inspiring videos like this, follow my Facebook business page or my YouTube, Rich Awakenings, and check out the videos section. So welcome to episode 2 of the Unmute Yourself show. And this show, just making sure that everything is on here, this show is dedicated to rising visionary change makers in the world, like you, people who are looking for encouragement, tools, and ideas on how to make the biggest impact on the planet. And to help you do that, to help me do that, I interview visionary change makers to find out how they've created a purpose-led business or life, or both, focused on making a difference in the world. And so today we are exploring the topic of creative intelligence. And my guest today, I have literally waited for more than a year to have this powerhouse of a woman on any of my shows. And my guest is the incomparable Amy Steinberg. Amy, I don't have enough time. We could just spend an hour talking about all the things that she is and what she has done on the planet. She is beloved around the world for her ridiculously inspiring music. She's also a talented artist, a speaker, and as she puts it, the creatrix at the House of Light and Love. And so without any further ado, let me introduce to you the fabulous Amy Steinberg.
Thank you for that amazing intro.
You're welcome. I need one of those buttons like the late night show hosts have, so like the crowd goes wild. Yes, welcome to the show. It's such an honor to have you as my guest, and also to be able to have you as a friend in my life. And at one point, we were almost going to be roommates.
That's right.
Do you remember that?
At that amazing little house.
Yes, I walk by it sometimes when I'm walking my dog, and I always think of you and the couple of times I got to visit, and just the magic though that you created in that space.
Oh my gosh, I loved that little house. I manifested that little house. We could spend the whole hour talking about the journey of getting that house, but now I'm not there anymore.
No, you're not there anymore. Now you're in a...
It was so funny. Oh, nutshell version of a story I have to tell you. I wanted to know if I was going to get this house, so I went to see a psychic.
Okay. I love it.
And she said, "You're going to get the house, but you're not going to be there long." And I was like, "Oh, hell no. I'm going to be there for 5 years at least." And she was absolutely right. I got offered a job in Asheville. You know what I mean? And then I was only there for maybe a year or less than a year. Anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. Good thing I didn't move in.
I know. Or you could have probably taken it over.
Taken it over. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, who knows
all is
what
perfect.
Here we are. So, I have the pleasure of knowing you personally and getting to watch you in action with literally creating words and music on the spot. And I was trying to think, I don't know how many hours I've spent listening to your music and over and over and over, and certain songs, of course, like the one you wrote for me. So rich.
That's right.
I was so happy when that one came out. But, your music has this ability to help. I can
You're gonna
say
make me cry. I'm just telling you right away.
Maybe I'll cry too. It's transcendent. Like you get into the nitty gritty of what it means to be a human being on this sometimes glorious, and everything in between journey that we're all on together. And this ability to not just sing about it, but to sing it, like where it's in your bones. Ooh. And I've just driven, I still have your CDs in my car. Like, who has CDs in their car still? But I do, because they're yours. And I play that, like I'll go on these jags of like, oh, this is what I need right now. I need to listen to this 100 times and just song after song singing at the top of my lungs.
Oh, I love that. You have to video me a video of you singing a song of mine.
Okay, I will. I was singing it in the shower today.
I love it.
And hey, let's just give a shout out to everyone who's watching live, and those of you who watch the recording. Thank you for being here. And if you would just do us a huge favor and share this video right now, because the people in your world deserve to hear this conversation. So before you became the Amy that you are today, this world-renowned artist, you are not just music, like the art that's behind you and the jewelry that you make, and then God knows what else you do that I don't know. But you are, I was thinking about this, you're like, we always hear the term Renaissance man, but if there was ever a Renaissance woman, you are the model for that in my eyes.
I love that.
But how, what would you say was one of the significant struggles that you've overcome in your life that you can now, looking back, you can now say, oh, that happened, that had to happen. Otherwise, I wouldn't have this, or I wouldn't have been able to produce this song or this piece of art. Like, what's something that you really had to overcome to allow yourself the freedom to be you?
That's a really good question. I think that being a trained actor and being in the theater since I was very young, I went to theater camps and I went to performing arts high school. And I think overcoming the idea of who I would think I should be, or I can remember specifically what's popping in my head is in high school, the play Once Upon a Mattress. I don't know if you remember that play. If you know that play. But there's kind of two main girl roles. There's the ingenue, that was played by Carol Burnett, by the way, originally on Broadway. And then there's the queen. Excuse me. Sorry, a lot of pollen up here. I'm so sorry for clearing my throat so much. But, and I really wanted that ingenue role. I really wanted it. And there was nobody else that could play the queen. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was my role. And I think that's the quintessence of me learning that, you can't be anybody but who you are. You know what I mean? If you're the queen, you're the queen. And there were very few roles in theater that I could fit in. And that was kind of, so what do you do with that? If you're an actor and you're a creator and you can't really reach the notes that you need to hit, because, some of those notes are, if you know anything about music, if you get to, if you're looking at Wicked, for instance, like Elphaba, the lead character in that show, you have to be able to hit a D. And part of my vocal, I always knew I had this voice inside of me, but I didn't have that ability. So it's like overcoming my limitations to say, you know what, well, I'm going to create my own music, because how many girls out there are altos, or how many men out there are not quite tenors or not quite whatever, and they need something to sing along with, Yeah. And they need something to, and so I started to create it myself, because it was like, okay, there's not enough roles for me, so I need to write myself a role.
Oh.
Right?
There's that, huh?
Yeah. Like and that's a hard pill to swallow. In fact, this morning I was in therapy right before I came here, which is a great way to, pre-podcast therapy. We were talking about that part of me that's still there. It's small, but that still says you're not enough. You are a failure. And then here I come on here and you call me a world-renowned blah, blah, So it's like, it's just never enough. And I know there's always this carrot that we're chasing as artists and as creators. And I always think about that beautiful Martha Graham quote that speaks of how the artist is never satisfied. Because if we were satisfied, we would stop creating. You're always ready to create that next masterpiece, that next work of art. It's like we're always looking forward to the excitement of life. So it's hard to just be... Another thing that I'm overcoming is to just be here now, to be present in what is. So that's a constant overcoming.
And what are if you go back to your younger years, because I've if there's an Amy Steinberg video, I think I've found it, and I know before. So folks who are watching, Amy is is very well respected and very well known in the world of conscious music. So, in her lyrics, always speak to elevating, remembering who we are, and understanding that we have the power to manifest, just like she's already been talking about, and to create our reality. Everything points to that, tapping into that part of who we really are. But before you were able to sing and write about that with such so emphatically, what was it like in the early days? Because I've seen older videos, I think pre-conscious music, diving into that, when you were amazing and fabulous, but you were in a different place in your life.
It's so interesting because my very first CD is with the Amy Steinberg Band. I don't know if you ever have heard that CD, but it's called Sky High.
I don't know.
And the very first song on that CD sings, the lyrics are, all we are is purity and light, or something like that. So, and I hadn't discovered conscious music, right? And I was already singing about the truth, because the truth is the truth, right? No matter what you call it. And so there was always this call in me, like even in high school, like reading tarot cards, astrology, the occult, gemstones. Like I was always drawn to spirit, whatever that looked like, not religion, but spirit. And then so when I found New Thought, so what was your question? Because I feel like I'm veering off, but you asked about the younger years, what it was like.
Yeah.
I think it was sort of like, I remember singing these songs, like Exactly, for instance. I wrote that song before I was a conscious musician. Or whatever.
Really? Because that's the song that I was watching. I've seen so many versions of it because it's a long song.
Yeah, and that was before.
I can't believe that was before you were doing, you were consciously conscious.
So many, and that's the thing is like, so what had happened was, I was playing, exactly. I was playing coffee houses and bars, and I was singing Exactly. And so I would also, can I curse on here? It's fine, right?
Yeah.
So I would also write these songs like Fuck All Night, I Must Get Laid, because nobody was listening to I'm exactly where I need to be, because they're all drinking. So I'd be like, fuck all night, my pussy, woo! And then everybody looks at me and I go, you're beautiful and amazing and everything's great, right? And all is well and you're exactly right. You know what I mean? So I like reel them in with these like dirty, and then I talk about spirituality. And then I remember, I will never forget the first spiritual center that I played. I was freaking dragged there, because I was like, I'm not playing a church. Thank you very much. I'm Jewish and no. But I will never forget being on that stage. And first of all, there's no coffee machine. There's no clinking glasses. And everybody's sitting there staring at me. And I was sort of like, what are you looking at? Why are you looking at me?
Don't pay attention.
And I remember making a joke about it. Wow, you guys are really listening. And they're like, and they stood up and they clapped. And, I think back to like, remember when the Universal Spirit Center was in the movie theater?
Yes.
And like, I think back, those are some of the best times of my life. Like they kick the ass out of the House of Blues stage, because when people are there and fully present with you and in that mindset where like we are raising our vibration with this music, it's like a totally different paradigm of music. So it's basically like I was doing the same thing, but I didn't have that receptive. It's almost like I was a plug, just like plugging in the wall with no outlet. And then bam, I got the outlet of New Thought, of conscious music. And now, there's so much conscious music that's not just New Thought. And I wish I could, veer a little bit more into that community. Look at, I have paint on me. Sorry.
You're a true artist.
Maybe shower. That would be a thing.
You had therapy instead.
Exactly.
You got to choose.
Choices.
So how would you define conscious music compared to secular music, I guess, as we would
that's,
label it?
It's so, here we are talking about music. And I think for years I turned the radio off, and hi, Cody. For years I turned the radio off, and then I started dating this woman about 9 months ago. And her name is AJ. Hi, AJ, if you're listening. And she loves pop music, like Justin Bieber and like all these, pop music and I sort of like knew nothing about Justin Bieber. Like, of course I knew his name and everything like that. I
have
knew
a
nothing
story
about
about
Justin
him.
Timberlake even, really. Honestly, like I had just turned the radio off for like a decade. And I am falling in love with pop music, and there's so much spirit in pop music, right? Like, Holy, Holy, the Justin Bieber song, right? So it's really everywhere, and there is no separation between what's on the radio and what conscious music is. Like, that's just whatever we're awake to is what we're gonna come into, what we're gonna, even, Wet Ass Pussy. Like, I'm so obsessed with that song. Like, I know every lyric. It's really dirty and filthy, but it's like women in power talking about sex. Like, I was doing that with Fuck All Night and I Must Get Laid, 20 years ago. Okay. But, it wasn't on the radio, where women could be that sexually, disgusting. When I grew up, it was like, hey, we want some pussy. Do you remember that one?
Oh, right.
Remember that one? So, but you wouldn't ever hear women singing that,
No.
So it's like, I feel like conscious music is everywhere now. It's just being awake to what is. And when it comes to new thought and that stuff, I like to think it's conscious. So it knows that it's having an influence on on the listener. And so I want to say it's positive, but it's not always, because sometimes, like you were saying, like, to express the struggle, to express the darkness. I think on Shine Be Glorious, which is a CD I know you have, one of the last songs is Lift Me Up, right? Lift me up out of this day. And you know that one?
Yeah.
And that's when we're in that depth of dark,
Well, those are some of my favorite songs of yours, where you are talking about, it seems that you're talking about like messy, like relationships and the heartbreak and the meshing and the unmeshing of souls. And it's just like, it's like juicy and messy and raw.
Yeah.
And it's, spiritual music.
Right.
Because that's true,
What's
right?
spiritual?
Well, isn't that like our relationship with the divine?
It sure is.
It ain't easy.
It ain't easy.
Sometimes.
But it's rich.
So rich.
That's what, it's such a great name you have, because I feel like if I were to describe my life as it is versus the fantasy I had of my life as I thought it would be, it's so much richer than I could have ever dreamed. And at the same time, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you had similar sort of grandiose dreams when you were younger.
Sure.
But it's a very rich relationship with the divine, for sure.
So we've been talking about your music, but that's just one way that you create. And on your Facebook page, your title for House of Light and Love, which is, you guys have
Love and Light, by the way.
Love and Light.
House
of Love and Light. Thank you. Y'all have to visit Amy's website, House of Love and Light. Got it right there. .org. And I'll put this on the screen again in a little bit. But you call yourself the creatrix. So let's tell us about that. What does that mean? And that's so bold. Like, you have to be able to own that. And you have it in all caps too. So on Facebook, at least. So what does it mean? And like, how do you like embody that?
Well, the word itself, I learned from my dear friend Rachel Ken, who is the creatrix of her very own space that's similar in a way, but for some reason I can't think of the name of her space. It'll come to me. But she holds some weekly, sometimes monthly Sabbath. It's very Jewish, but it's very, very beautiful, amazing. She's a poet and a performer. She had mentioned the word creatrix, and then I remember looking it up and seeing the definition and feeling like it was much more me than minister or
okay.
So like, my story around ministerial stuff is that I was ordained without going to seminary. I was hired to be the minister here in Asheville, after with no training, with zero training, lots of classes and new thought and lots of experience in life and 12 steps. And I'd been in recovery for a long, long time. And I felt ready for it. I really did. Although I wasn't, I got fired after 6 months. I don't know if I've told you much of that story, but it was, very powerful experience. And leap and the net will appear, and then the net will break, and then another net will appear. And then, I was fired. And then I think 2 days later, the pandemic hit and we were all told to stay inside. It was like, oh, okay, God. So I had to create a space for me to express and create tricks. I love the idea of creating a space where I can showcase poetry and music and art, and I can also express those things of my own, and we can pray. And I have my mission for House of Love and Light is to nourish, uplift, and inspire, and especially during this time of the pandemic. So Creatrix is like, I like to think of it as like a creative minister, basically. Minister of creativity or something like that. I don't know.
Got it. Yeah. So what, so you just brought something up. And I knew that why you left us and here in San Diego. Amy lived here in
Universal Spirit Center and that community and those musicians so much. And I loved being a music director.
Yeah. You were phenomenal. There was like, you changed the whole energy and the course of the center, I feel, all for good. And then you get this amazing opportunity that takes you to the other side of the country, and then it vanishes, so to speak. What was that like for you? So this is really good, because here you are following spirit. Here you are doing what you feel led to do, right? Which is how we're shaping our lives, the kind of lives that we're trying to create, to live by, is listening to intuition, into our heart and our spiritual direction, and doing the work to be able to live a life like that, right? It's much easier to just not pay attention and just wake up and go to work and go to sleep. But you are living a life of example, and you pick up and move across the country, and then so sorry, you're not the one after all. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, what did you do?
It's incredible, because if you want to know what you want, look at your life. If you want to know what you want, look at your life. I wanted to get fired.
Ooh, child.
It was not a conscious want, for sure, because I was definitely devastated by the whole thing. But I think subconsciously, I knew that it was not a New Thought church, first of all. And I was constantly bringing New Thought ideology, and it was not being accepted by those at the top, like the board and stuff like that. Like, I had so many ideas that were rejected. And I learned later that if you are a minister and you go to a church that's been there for 30 years, that you change nothing within the first 5 years. And that's not going to be me, because I'm a creative spirit. I've got to create change. That's what I do. So it really wasn't a match. However, it brought me back to the East Coast, which is where my family is. I was able to buy a home. I was able to connect with so many people. I was able to meet my beloved, who I'm with now. How did I deal with it? I took the shit and I made it absolutely fertilizer. It absolutely became fertilizer, because it really hurt. I mean, your ego, when you get fired like that, and it's a 500-person community, is a big church, right? And it's also sort of like this sort of mystical downtown church that the whole city knows about. It's a small city. There's only 90,000 people here. So, I mean, it was just absolutely humiliating. But I've learned from years in recovery that humiliation is the greatest gift. And that crisis, the Chinese symbol for crisis is also the symbol for opportunity. And
I didn't know that.
I know. I heard that at one, and it stuck with me. So it feels like it was an opportunity. Okay, what am I going to do now? And they offered me a severance. So I had 3 months of, getting paid to figure out what I wanted to do. And during that time, I created House of Love and Light. And I'm still we're all in this quarantine period where I feel like we're the goo right now, the butterfly stage, we're the goo.
Yeah.
So the caterpillar goes into the cocoon and becomes this like gooey substance where it's like the creative, it's like before the butterfly.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm still in that metamorphosis. And I think we all are because, but you can feel the emergence happening, right? As spring comes and we're all coming out literally with the vaccines and everything. And I feel like I'm just blooming as a visual artist. Like this visual art that I made, I started doing visual art, even more. I mean, I've been doing visual art, I was doing the dots and I've done so many different iterations of art, but I've really been diving into painting and I'm just happy. Hi, Julie.
So you said a couple things. One, the shit into fertilizer. Can you say that again, please, for those who maybe didn't hear it the first time?
So I took this pile of shit that basically was being fired and dumped, by the way, too. I was dumped. I had met this woman who was in the congregation, which, by the way, they say don't fuck the flock when you're the minister. I don't know if you've heard that, but I couldn't help myself. And I fell in like this really toxic, but really, the toxic ones are always the best, right? Like we were in and out together through the months that I was working there. And it was a very difficult, very stressful relationship. And she dumped me also. So I was fired and dumped, which was just, my heart broke. And so I was literally laying in this pile of shit. And then somebody wrote to me and said, do you want to start your own thing? Like, I believe in you. And I started to build this idea of House of Love and Light with this woman named Lisa. And then Lisa, after the pandemic hit, Lisa backed out because she was like, well, we weren't, because it was originally going to be like a church in person, and it turned into something else. And she was like, well, I'm not really needed here. And I need a break because she had ran a treatment center and she was like, I just need a break from creating something. So just have at it, So basically I would never have done it on my own. And that's how God is, right? Like God provides all that you need to create what you need to create. And sometimes it's just absolute garbage, and shit. That's what fertilizer is. I mean, it's doo-doo, it's dung, and so I love that. I love that we can take the spoils of our life and do something beautiful with them. That's what God does. I always think of God, the energy of God as the ultimate alchemist that takes, everything that you give it and turns it into gold if you tap in and let it, right?
So you're living the exact kind of life that I know so many people I'll say it the way it's coming to me, think they want to live.
Freedom.
It's not always easy, right? In fact, arguably it's harder because the more conscious you are, the more things you notice that are there to alchemize, to transform and transmute. And
yes,
so that
be
awareness.
Careful when you wake up.
Yes, exactly. I know the kinds of people who follow the work that I do and who are watching this show are people who have a huge message in their heart. Like they know they're on this planet to do something much more than just go to work, pay the bills, and do it again. And I know a lot of people are on the fence. Like they know that it's undeniable, that sensation, and yet they're like, maybe it isn't me. Maybe I'm not the one. Or what if I fail? Or what if they reject me? What if it goes wrong? In your story, just the part about going to be the minister and then like, oh no, no. All the stuff that fell apart seemingly around that, right? And yet here you are. You stayed there. You have a new love. You're so creative. I see a lot of your videos. Like, look at this piece of art, and like you're doing a lot of creation, even though things didn't go the way you had thought they were supposed to go fairly recently.
That's right.
So what would you say to the people who want that but they're afraid of, well, what if it goes wrong?
Every success story that I read, I mean, everyone from Michael Jordan to Oprah, the biggest successes, they had these tremendous failures or these tremendous obstacles. And so I always remember that when things happen, like being fired or things like breakups or moves or, illness or whatever, I always think like, oh, this is a part of my story. Like this is a part of the story that I'm writing. And I would say to people out there who have that divine urge, they call it divine discontent, right? You hate your 9-to-5 job and you like do these cartoon sketches on the side and they're really good. Or, you dream of teaching yoga, but you like are, you work as an accountant, I just feel like when my father passed, it's 6 or 7 years ago now. It's so crazy how time flies. I remember thinking, you just can't take it with you. Like he worked so hard. And in the very end of his life, he found something that he loved to do. He loved to sell. He wanted to be a salesman. And it was very end of his life. And it was so beautiful to see him doing something that he loved. And I feel like, do what you love because this is it. Like, this is it. And I'm constantly checking on myself, like, do I love doing this still? Like, is this still bringing me joy? Is this, what do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? Do I need a break? Do I need, do I want to quit everything and become a comedian? You and I have both talked about that one, sometimes I just want to be a subversive, filthy comedian and drop it all. And so it's just constantly listening to what is calling me, something's calling me a little deeper, that Jamie Lula song, Something's Calling Me.
Yeah,
if you
amazing.
Don't know that song, please, if you're listening, look it up. Something's Calling Me by Jamie Lula. A little bit deeper. It's kind of like you said, once you go on this journey of consciousness or of the spiritual path, like you can't really go back.
Really hard.
You
can get stuck, but it's hard to go back the other way.
It's really hard. It is really hard, definitely.
Well, so for those people who are in that space of, there's something I know, there's something more, and yet they're not clear on what that is. How can someone get more clarity about what direction they may go in? Like you were talking about, you're doing your job and you hate it, but you notice you have these amazing doodles on the notepads. Like, what are some clues to feel into?
That's such a great question. And I'm always fascinated by people sort of not knowing what their urge is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just like you said, looking for clues, like looking throughout the day, like if you're cooking dinner and you're like, wow, I'm really loving chopping these vegetables and maybe I'm supposed to be a cook or a chef, sort of looking for what lights you up. What is it when you're with your animals? Is it when you're cleaning the house? I mean, I have friends who have cleaning businesses. Some people don't want to go out and be a star. They just want to do something they love to do. Like cleaning is a perfect example. Like somebody could have their own business where they clean and they work by themselves for themselves and they make their own prices, and they're living the dream in their own way. It's finding what you love to do. Like just thinking about that made me light up because I really do actually like cleaning. My girlfriend will not believe that I'm saying that because my house is kind of not always that clean, but I have 5 animals. But there's what brings you joy? Like what, and jewelry's a perfect example too, because I don't make jewelry, I sell jewelry. So what I do is I call myself a curator. I get it from all over the world. I look and find the best deals and then I sell them at really low prices because I don't have an overhead. I don't have a storefront or I don't have to pay people. So I'm able to sell these beautiful pieces. But I started that because I love jewelry, right? And I love shopping for jewelry and I love talking about jewelry and I need other sources of income because, a musician or artist can't be the full-time thing. And I wouldn't want it to be. Like, I want to do lots of different things because life is more magical that way for me. So what do you love? Really ask yourself, what do I love? And then get after it, just start doing more of that. And then it'll lead to it.
That's so spot on. You were just making me think of something. One of the processes I do with my private clients is an exercise that it's like you just read it. What lights you up? What inspires you? And just make a list, unfiltered. Even if it is, a cup of coffee in the morning or watching the sunset, like just
porn, Doritos, reality TV.
Just get
picking your nose. I mean, whatever it is.
There's a business in that. So we're going to take just a very
Can you imagine? I'm a professional nose picker. What do you do?
Someone's got to do America's professional nose picker. We need to take just a very quick break. Today's episode of Unmute Yourself is sponsored by my company, Rich Awakenings Media. So we just have a quick commercial, and then we'll come back and talk to Amy some more. So if you're interested in advertising or sponsoring the show, please contact me, post a comment below, or send an email to rich@richawakenings.com, and I'll tell you how you can be featured as a sponsor of this amazing show. All right. So Amy, this is the part of our show where we talk about 3 things. So I'm going to invite you to share with us in just a moment 3 things that you are most grateful for today. So let's just do this little show intro. So Amy, what are the top 3 things that come to your mind first that you are grateful for today?
I am grateful for my girlfriend. I am grateful for House of Love and Light. And I am grateful for you in this moment.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I am so
grateful. What about you? I want to know what you were.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I'm so grateful that you're here because I've asked you a lot of times and you've always said yes. It's just never happened. And
I'm so sorry.
No.
I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. We say yes to everything and then we cancel half of the things. It's a terrible thing.
Well, here it finally was time, so yes. I'm glad that I asked again. And actually, this is a really good lesson. It was a lesson for me, and also for any of you that are watching. We get to ask for what we want in life, and we don't always get it when we want it.
That's right.
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's a yes, but it happens a year and a half later, right? Sometimes it's a yes, and then it happens, 10 seconds later. Sometimes it's a no, not now. But if we're not asking, if we're not making requests and assertions for what we want and need, then how's it going to happen? And the more we ask, the more clarity we get. And I find the more that comes to me, what do you think about that?
I think it's a great lesson. And I think it's a great lesson for me too, that like the shame of saying yes and then canceling could have made me, sort of say no or right. So it's both sides of it. Like keep asking. And then if you're the one who's saying yes and then failing to follow through or busy or whatever, that you can try again. Like I think that the message is like, never, 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 never give up. Who was it that said that? It's like, I don't know. It's a famous quote. Never give up. Never, 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 never surrender. Like just, we all fall. It's like the fall 8 times, get up 9, right? Like we're just always doing our best. It's like that Don Miguel Ruiz thing, the 4 agreements, always do your best. And sometimes your best is, I'll do it. And then I don't feel well today or, and then it's like, forgive yourself and move to the next thing and then say yes again and try again. And, I was actually really excited about today. So it's, when you're ready for something, it'll, like you're saying, like when you're ready, it'll be time.
Yeah. Yeah. So. And it's not always in what we think is the timing that we want it to unfold. And I know in our spiritual circles, we talk about this concept of divine timing. I don't know, that you're making me think about that. Sometimes what's in our highest and best interest, we're not ready for, or sometimes we're ready and we still don't ask.
Yeah. It's like, where's that courage? You have to get the courage to step out. And that's what we're talking about today, is having the courage to just live from that place of uncertainty and like just dreaming big and going for it. Expressing yourself and being, fully expressed. Sometimes comes with some no's, sometimes comes with some fails. It has to. It's the whole Thomas Edison thing, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I was just thinking about.
Oh, were you just thinking about that? Oh my gosh. What is it like? What is it that he said? He said, I failed 10,000 times or whatever. Like,
to create the light bulb.
Yeah. Like, he never stopped.
It's like there were, whatever the number is, we'll use 10,000. Yeah. He found 10,000 ways that it didn't work.
Right.
And then finally he found the way it worked.
And I don't know if anything fascinates you more than that filament and in that bulb and that thin glass casing, and you plug it in and it lights up. I mean, nothing is as fascinating. And I grew up partly for a couple of years in Fort Myers, where was Thomas Edison's, I think, like winter home or something.
Oh,
and it was like the one thing that we had in Fort Myers that you could go check out. And I just remember looking. It was like a field trip from school, and you could see like all of his tools and all of his things and the energy of the house. It was very mystical. It was like being in a very magical energy of like, this person like knew what they wanted and knew that they had this idea. People thought he was crazy. I mean, I was reading Think and Grow Rich. Have you read Think and Grow Rich?
Many times. Yes, it keeps coming up recently.
Not that one. There's two that I'm reading right now. There's Think and Grow Rich, but then there's also the Wallace D. Wattles one, The Science of Getting Rich.
Yes, I have that in my bookcase.
Or wait, which one was it? Maybe it was Think and Grow Rich. Was when he talked about the guy that created the radio. I can't remember his name. But Morian or something like that. I don't.
The Italian last name.
Yeah, Morano or something like that. Anyway, he was told, like, they were trying to put him like, because he was like, I see something where voices go through the air and you can hear them, and people were like trying to commit him.
Yes, well, that was like Tesla, who it's argued actually is the person who created radio, and then the guy you were just talking about actually brought it to pass, but
okay.
That's the controversy I've heard.
Yeah.
But Nikola Tesla, the same thing. Like a lot, his ideas. He was talking about the world that we live in right now. What is making all of this show happen is all wireless, right? He had described and talked about how by this time in history, this is just how things would be, and people just thought, "What?
You're insane."
Yeah, exactly. But that's what a visionary. That's what a visionary does, right?
I love it.
Oh, here someone said "Science of Getting Rich."
Science of Getting Rich. Yes. Excellent book.
Yes. So hey, all of you folks who are listening out there, thank you for being here, or whether it's live or on the recording. We'd love to hear in the chat. What are things that you're grateful for, and or what's something that you know that you're on the planet to do, but maybe you haven't quite done it. Use this moment right now as a way to voice it, to unmute yourself. That's what this whole show is about, and put it into existence. You're in a safe space. You're in a community of like-minded people right now. Tell us, if you put away your shoulds and but what ifs and hows, and you just listen to your heart, what do you know that you're on this planet to do? Put that in the comments and let us know, and let us support you in that. So Amy, while people are making comments, right? Everyone's rushing to make comments right now, see? I want you to share with us your final thought. So speaking to these people who watch the show, who are just right there, they're ready to go for making this transition into living a purpose-led life or business where they're of service to the world. What's your best advice for someone to just leap?
There is nobody that can do you as well as you can do you. I mean, we've heard this a million times in a million different ways, but you are so extraordinary. The fact that you exist, the fact that the sperm got to the egg that created the zygote, that the trillions of cells that you are, and the way that you were brought up and the experiences you had and the people you met and the things that you've seen, it's astounding how incredible it is that you're here. The things that you've conquered, the things that you've journeyed through, the things that you've overcome, the many shits that you've taken, and the food that you've eaten, and the animals that you've loved, and the people that you've loved. You are incredible. You are singular. There is nothing that can touch the uniqueness of you, and you must express it at its greatest and highest, because you are a star in my sky, and if you're not shining, I take it personally. And my sister said that to me one time, and I never forgot it, and I stole it and made it my own. It's the truth. You are, when you're shining your light, you are making more light for everyone else, and there's no competition when we're shining our light. There's enough light for everyone, and just, find that thing that lights you up. And, and the other thing I would say is, it's okay if you're not happy all the time. I think that happiness is truly kind of overrated in the New Thought world, because sadness and darkness bring so much richness. Again, like the soil is dark. It's a dark place where you plant the seed. And so it's just as glorious and amazing as the happiness. And, I definitely struggle with dark moods. This week I had some real dark times, and I was very sad. I had some sadness overcome me, and it's like, you know what? Just let it be. Let yourself be who you are and celebrate that, because you're a miracle.
I hope you all listen.
Just ramble on,
Yeah, I love all of what you just said, and I'm going to have to go back and listen to it again. And and I invite everyone, this recording will be available momentarily, and come back and listen to this last part of the show. You can just forward to Final Thought. You'll see it pop up on the screen, and soak it in. Close your eyes and let what Amy just said reverberate through every cell in your body, and then take one action. It's great to hear these things, but then the secret sauce is action, because you can't fail if you don't try, right? So
that's right.
We got to take that next step. So, Amy, you are phenomenal. You are a star in my sky for sure.
You spot it, you got it.
Yeah, I receive it.
Yes, baby. Yes. I love that you're doing this. And I feel like this is so you living your divine purpose, which is showing others that they can live theirs. So, you're walking the walk, and that's phenomenal. You've always been such a bright light. I mean, everywhere you go, it's like you light up the room. So I love you.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful you had me.
Yes.
And please give love to your partner too.
I will. He's listening in the other room. So I'll talk to you in just a minute. Everyone, give Amy a round of applause and gratitude for spending her precious time with us today and illuminating us with her wisdom and her beauty. And please find Amy on her website, houseofloveinlight.org. There's lots of amazing stuff there. Her art, her music, other conscious. I love that you have Jamie Lula and other conscious music artists on the website as well. So follow her. You can jump on her email list, and she puts out goodness. She's someone you want in your life. You want some Amy.
I also want to give a shout out real quick to amysteinberg.net, which is my music website. And you can also Google me and find all my music, everywhere, iTunes, Amazon, all that stuff. But amysteinberg.net. Interestingly enough, amysteinberg.com is a visual artist, but it's not
Yes,
me.
I found that. I was like, but she looks different.
I know. That's not me. But it's very cool that she's an artist, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting
And I actually
coincidence.
like her art. But that's not me. I'm amysteinberg.net.
Okay. So thank you, Amy. And I know we'll have you back on the show again. And maybe next time we'll have you singing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, folks, say bye to Amy. And Amy, we will chat in just a minute. Thank you so much for being here with us and being a bright light. So everyone, was that amazing? Isn't Amy Steinberg? I mean, if you don't know her music, I promise you, all you need to listen to is like the first few bars of any Amy Steinberg song, and you will be so rich. Find that song, so rich, so rich. Okay, I'm not going to keep singing. That's Amy's job. So, folks, did you enjoy today's show? Did it get your wheels turning? If so, you can find many more inspiring interviews. My past show called The Divine Urge is on my Facebook page. New episodes of this show, the Unmute Yourself show, on my Facebook page, on YouTube, and also you can go to richawakenings.com. So tell me, do you have a message in your heart to share with the world, but you're not quite sure how to make that happen? Would you like to know how to unlock your big story and turn that into a message of inspiration to improve people's lives? Well, if that's you, I invite you to join me and some truly amazing people from around the world, rising visionary change makers, people who know they're here on the planet to make a difference. On May 22nd, through the beauty of Zoom, I am holding a full day live online event called Camera Confidence Mastery Live. I'm going to guide you to a place of discovery where you'll begin to unlock that juicy story that you have inside of you, much like how Amy just shared one of her juicy stories. She shared a couple, actually. I'm going to show you how you can tap into those stories so that you can help others overcome the obstacles in their lives. Make a difference, right? And I'm going to show you how you can take that story and how to share it using video, just like we are right now, so that millions of people out there who are looking for inspiration and support can find you. Do you know that video has become the #1 way that people look for information, for answers, for ideas, for how-tos, for inspiration and support and guidance, especially since the last year with the pandemic? It's more than 85% of people have said in surveys that if they want to know something, they Google it and they look for videos. They're on Facebook, YouTube, etc. Right? So if you're not being found, if you're not there with your big message, then people can't find you. I'm going to show you how you can do that. And so you'll learn my 5-step unmute yourself formula. It is awesome, I have to tell you. That you can implement in your business or life to become a confident authority in your field who makes an impact on camera, on stages, everywhere you go. Plus, you'll connect with some of the most inspiring people that I know. So the tickets for this are going to go on sale very soon. And what you can do right now is you can go to my website, richawakenings.com/gift. Get on my email list so that you are among the first people to find out how to get your tickets, where to go to get the tickets, and make sure that you have a spot. Okay, so folks, that is all for today's edition of the Unmute Yourself show. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. And please, if this show was inspiring for you, please share it with your peeps on your social media and let them in on the goodness. And again, let's all thank Amy for being an amazing guest and inspiring us with her wisdom, her art, her beauty, all of it. Okay. So folks, until next time, hey, unmute yourself, baby, because the world needs what you have to say. And that, like Amy said, there's only one you who can do it the way that you do it. So let's do it together. And we'll see each other next week when I have another inspiring guest on the next edition of the Unmute Yourself Show. Until next time, be courageous, be connected, and here's to your rich awakenings.